When an angry dog runs loose through a park and disrupts a yoga class, everyone freezes in fear that the dog will attack. But one woman recognizes something all too familiar in the dog's behavior and decides to take a risk. What the dog does to the woman shocks the whole world. The whole yoga class froze in their last position as the angry dog growled and bared his teeth. The instructor looked around, but no one seemed to be coming for the dog. She had no idea where it had come from or where its owner was, if it even had one. The same thought ran through everyone's minds. What if the dog attacked? But there was one person in the group who saw something different. Amy recognized the fear response in the dog, the nervous energy. Her own anxiety was what had brought her to yoga in the first place. Slowly, she stretched out on her mat, bringing her arms in front of her, and then she gently raised up onto all fours and stretched her neck. While everyone was scared, Amy felt a connection to the angry animal. The dog was still letting out a low growl, but now it was curiously watching Amy. Without warning, it ran over to her mat, and the yoga instructor scrambled for her phone to capture video evidence. What the dog did shocked the whole world, but not Amy. She was different. She had come to see the world under a different light. Amy had suffered from anxiety for as long as she could remember, but the older she got, the worse it seemed to be. She felt trapped by the condition, and no matter what she tried, her dark thoughts always seemed to win. It was taking over her whole life, and Amy feared that if she didn't find a solution soon, her life would be ruined. She tried medications, breathing exercises, counting, even therapy. Everything worked for a little while until it just didn't anymore. But one day, while walking through the park, Amy stumbled upon an outdoor yoga class. As she watched the elegant poses and stretches, the focus on breathing and meditation, Amy instantly felt calmer. If watching the class could make her feel like that, what would attending it do? The next day, Amy headed to the park with her brand new yoga mat. She really had tried everything at this point, so there was no harm in giving yoga a go. She'd never know if she didn't try. She was in her mid-20s with no friends, no social life, and a job she did from home because the office was too much for her. Everything just always felt like a battle with her mind. She just wanted to feel happy, to do all the things people her age should be doing, like Friday night drinks with friends, dates at the cinema, coffee and lunch in cute cafes. But even getting to the yoga class had been a struggle. As soon as Amy had left the park the day before, she'd gone and bought herself some nice gym clothes and a yoga mat, determined to join the class the next day. But she'd hardly slept that night. What if the people in the class didn't like her? What if she couldn't do the poses and everyone laughed? What if people stopped and stared at her? When her alarm went off, she initially decided against attending the yoga class. However, after some internal debate, she gathered her courage, grabbed her mat, and joined the class in the park. Her apprehension dissolved as she flowed through the movements, and by the end of the class, she was beaming with joy. Becoming a regular at the park yoga class brought about a positive transformation in Amy's life. The practice helped her manage her anxiety, connect with others at the class, and even led to new social and romantic opportunities. Despite occasional distractions from onlookers and playful dogs, her newfound joy and confidence were unshakable. Amy had been attending the yoga classes for almost a year when suddenly her anxiety came back out of nowhere. She stopped going to the office, and soon the yoga mat sat gathering dust, her mind in overdrive almost every second of the day. It was now stopping her from doing the one thing that she truly loved, and the irony was that it was the only thing that had ever helped. She became angry and restless and hated herself for being the way she was. But things were different this time. Amy wasn't alone. She had friends who cared about her. So when she hadn't shown up at yoga for 2 weeks, she found them all standing on her doorstep, ready to listen and help in any way that they could. Her friends spent all afternoon with her, and by the end of it, she felt like a weight had been lifted. One of her friends had left her with a lot to think about, though. She'd suggested looking into getting a therapy dog. Amy had brushed the idea off at first, but the more they discussed it, the more intrigued she'd become. It was definitely something she wanted to research. Before any of that, though, she needed to get back to yoga. The next morning, she wiped the dust from her mat and pulled on her gym clothes. It was a beautiful sunny day, and waking up to blue skies instantly made Amy feel better. It was time to get back to what she loved, to what made her feel good about herself. As she walked through the park, feeling the sun on her face, she felt excited about being back. She had no idea what was about to happen to her. Amy sat on her mat waiting for her friends to arrive, cherishing the close friendships she never had before. As the yoga class began, the peace was shattered by a large dog running and barking wild in the park. The whole class lost its flow as people tried to keep an eye on the instructor and the approaching dog, which was getting closer and closer. As it circled the outskirts of the yoga class, the dog snarled and bared his teeth. Everyone had now frozen in the last position they were in out of fear and were attempting to relax their bodies without drawing too much attention to themselves. The thought of a dog attack was clearly going through everyone's minds. They'd all seen how aggressively it had acted towards the other dogs and their owners. But while everyone was terrified of the angry dog, Amy saw something different. She was sure the dog was scared and its aggressive behavior was just a fear response. She recognized the nervous energy radiating from the animal. It was something she'd carried around most of her life. If she was wrong, she could be putting herself in great danger. But something about the dog pulled at her heartstrings. Slowly, Amy folded herself down on her mat as the class instructor looked around for the dog's owner. No one else was moving, but the woman stretched and brought her arms out in front of her. Her heart was racing, but she focused on her breathing and continued to stretch and bend, ignoring the dog's low growls. She slowly raised up on all fours and stretched her neck in circular motions. As she opened her eyes, she saw the angry dog watching her curiously. Without warning, the dog ran straight toward Amy's yoga mat, and the young woman held her breath. But rather than attack, the dog did something that shocked the whole world. The angry dog stopped growling and stretched out alongside Amy. She was shaking, but she had to keep moving, so she arched her back and then brought her spine back down. The dog stretched its back legs and then looked at Amy as if it was waiting for the next instruction. The yoga instructor grabbed her phone. She couldn't believe what she was seeing and needed to record a video. As Amy stretched her arms above her head, the dog lifted up its front paws one at a time, as though trying to copy the yoga pose. Amy reached out and gently stroked the dog's ears. All the anger and aggression seemed to have gone. But if she stopped now, the dog would probably run away and become stressed. She continued to flow through the routine, and soon the dog was playfully nudging her, resting his paws on her, while she moved through the positions so that he could join in, stopping occasionally for a stroke. The young woman smiled. When she'd attended her first yoga class, she had no idea how much it would change her life. She certainly had no idea that it would end up having such a positive impact on an angry dog. By the end of the class, everyone was staring in amazement at Amy and the dog. The instructor showed her the video and asked if she minded it being uploaded to the class's social media. She agreed, but she had no idea the impact the video would have. At that moment, there was a bigger problem to deal with. What was she supposed to do with the dog? It didn't look starved or dirty, and it even had a blue bandana around its neck. So there had to be an owner somewhere. As Amy rolled up her yoga mat, she noticed the dog sitting patiently. She planned to take it to the nearest shelter to check for a microchip. However, 2 men from the shelter approached her, relieved to find the dog. They explained that it had escaped after being rescued from a deceased owner's home and had been alone and terrified for days. Amy had been right. The dog was scared, and at that moment, she knew exactly what she wanted to do. This wasn't the way she'd planned on getting a therapy dog, but it suddenly made perfect sense. She was going to adopt it. Little did she know, the video that her instructor had shared was quickly going viral. People were leaving comments of praise for her patience and for staying calm, and everyone was invested in the story of the yoga-loving dog and the kind woman. When Amy discovered what had happened, she couldn't believe it. It wasn't long before she had her own happy update to share with the world. The shelter was happy for Amy to adopt the dog named Yogi. She planned to start therapy dog training with him and created a social media account to raise awareness about anxiety in animals and humans. Amy felt that she and Yogi were meant to help each other. What an incredible story. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave a comment below. See you in the next video.